when the president declared the border wall national emergency, what were your comments?
Well, first of all, I think we need to back up a little bit. What the president proposed, I thought, was correct. In other words, he proposed a evidence-based solution to the border. He funded the top 10 priorities of the Border Patrol Zone Border Improvement Plan. And yet Democrats and Republicans couldn't get together to support that, so they supported about half of it. It was the most that Congress has ever put into barriers, ever, in any fiscal year. It's also the most we've ever put into border security generally, so it was a way to deal with what I think is a real problem along the border. But now the president is saying that's not enough and he'd like to go further. The national emergency, to me, is not the preferred way to go because he actually has the ability through Treasury forfeiture funds and through DOD drug funds to be able to add.
Ramp it up a couple of billion, but not $8 billion. Right?
Yeah, and so he wants to go an additional, I think it's about $3.6 billion through a national emergency, but we'll see what happens. We'll see how he defends it.
If the courts uphold his ability to do this, and some people think they could, some people don't think that they could, but if they do that, the entire structure of how we fund things breaks down, that it no longer becomes Congress, that it's basically a dictatorship. The difference between this national emergency and the 13 that President Obama, for example, I mean, it's a different situation, obviously, but things didn't break down with those 13 or however many W did or the president before him. They've all done them, but never in this case, right?
I think there are 38 out there now. And the difference, frankly, is that in those cases, Congress went along with it. Primarily, when you look at those were things like saying that there would be sanctions on a country like Iran or North Korea. So they're different in kind, and Congress never objected to it. In this case, there is likely to be a vote in the House that's negative, saying they disapprove his ability to do it.
Do you believe it's unconstitutional? As someone who I believe has read the Constitution, you've talked about things being constitutional. Here's a situation where Congress has clearly not appropriated the money that the president has wanted, and the president effectively has now done an end run around Congress and the hopes and dreams, or at least the votes of what Congress has said that is appropriate.
So two thoughts there. One, I don't think anybody really knows because it's a gray area. If you look at the constitutional arguments, pro and con, they're based on case law that came before the National Emergency Act was put into effect by Congress. So probably he has the right to do it. And I would guess at the end of the day, I'm just speculating here, the courts will say this is a political question. It's not a question to be determined by the courts.
What does it mean to your power then?
But that doesn't mean that he should do it. I think those are two separate questions.
So you think that Congress can decide to appropriate money or for whatever, and if it's enough or not enough, the president can always just say, you know what, that's not right. I want to do it my way.
Well, yes, it shows it's a national emergency, and again, as Joe's indicated, there's something like 38 in place right now. There have been a number of them. The ones since
now when Congress has actually effectively decided on the issue in advance. And then the president has turned around and said, actually, no, I'm not. And what did you make of the fact that the president said, I could do this or I could not do this? It could take me some time. I mean, I'm sort of just trying to speed it up.
Quoted in the lawsuit, what he said in the Rose Garden was quoted in the lawsuit.
That doesn't help his case. But if you look back, Youngstown sheet metal versus Sawyer, I think it was, is the case law everybody turns to. That was before the National Emergency Act was put in place, which creates this ability for Congress to step in and have its voice heard. So it'll be interesting to see what happens. I would guess that it'll make its way to the Supreme Court pretty quickly, and this will be a precedent-setting case. And they may well say this is a political question. You guys work it out.